Hey guys, welcome back. So I'm gonna go over season two of The Mandalorian. Mostly the last episode, just because a lot of stuff does happen. But I'm gonna try to go through like the key points of the season. So with Star Wars, it's kind of a weird thing for me. Like I literally did not get into Star Wars till I was 18, no, 17 in high school when I was a senior. And to me, before then, I was always like, "Who cares?" I was never really into science fiction, but I remember I was talking to some of my classmates and just like talking like they're talking like talking about it so much and I was like, "You know what? I should give it a chance." And by that time it was before The Force Awakens came out and they were selling the original trilogy on Blu-ray. So I was like, "You know what? I'm going to go out and buy it." And so far I've actually been liking this franchise. No, I haven't been watching like the animated cartoon like the TV shows ones anything like that, but so far the movies I've been really liking so much. Like it's kind of like a rocky point for Star Wars with the Star Wars fans, just because a lot of people will say like, "Oh, the sequel sucks," or the prequel sucks, and if you like them, you suck too. But to me, I see it as the originals are the best ones. The prequels, I'm not too much of a fan of, and then but I do like Episode 3. And the sequels, I'm not really too big fan of them either. I really like Episode 7. To me, I loved it. Like watching that in theaters. That was the first Star Wars movies I watched in theaters and I really loved the experience of it. And so when they came out with the show, The Mandalorian, I was like, okay, that's cool. Like I wasn't really expecting much of it, but I really did like the first season. I really did. So in this coming season, I was like expecting something, as much as like season 1. And I really liked it. And to me, I really loved it that it's about a guy. He's a bounty hunter. I always like that, like this bounty hunter in the galaxy, kind of like basically like Boba Fett. And but the Mandalorian, he in season 1 he meets up with Baby Yoda, which it's not Yoda, but it's his own kind. It's a baby, which makes sense. So everyone's been calling him Baby Yoda, even I have. And so he's kind of being a protector of it, even being the father figure for it of season 1 and now season 2. And now his mission throughout season 2 is trying to get him to a Jedi so he could train him and he could be safe with them. So he's going through like these different tasks on trying to get to his end goal. And that's what I really like. Like this show kind of reminds me a lot like Samurai Jack, just cause it's like this guy shows up to a town for one reason, and he has to help these people on their situation, what's going on, and then he helps them, he saves the day, and then he goes on his way with what he needed. And to me, I always like I like that storytelling of it. And to me, when I'm watching this, it really reminds me like I love the practical effects. They have some CGI, but I think they using the practical effects and a little bit of CGI together. I think that really works out well instead of just let's just all use CGI. That's why it kind of bugs me about the prequels. But I really do like that. Like Baby Yoda, he is a puppet, and he has some motion capture about it, where it is some CGI when he's moving and like with his facial expressions, I think. And I really do like that. Like to me, it makes it more real instead of just being an all CGI character or just a puppet where it has no expressions or anything like that. So I like the routes they're going out with this whole show. And oh, and by the way, just spoilers because I want to talk about all the like cool stuff that I really like about this whole season. And so, just a warning: spoilers. If you haven't seen the season, go out and watch it. You will love this show. But I'm just gonna talk about spoilers. So in this season, in the first episode, he goes and he need to get the Boba Fett armor. And you know what happened to Boba Fett in episode 6, the last Return of the Jedi. You know exactly, he got swallowed up in this thing, which is kind of like I remember when I first watched it, I was like, oh, he went out like a bitch. But in the end of that episode, it shows the guy like all bald, all scarred up, and he's like there at Tatooine, and I was like, that's Boba Fett, right? Like I was like, yes, like he's alive. Like I always liked that because he's actually alive. He's still alive in the books, but the books are not canon anymore. That's from what I heard. So the fact that we're seeing him live action, he's still alive, and I think that's pretty cool. He doesn't come back until like episode 7, and when he gets the suit back, I'm like, that's Boba Fett. That's fucking awesome. They bring in some characters from the Clone Wars, and I'm not really too much at like with the other Mandalorians. Like I don't really know too much about. I'm like, oh yeah, I do remember seeing them because I never really got into Clone Wars. But the one character that does show up that the Mandalorian ends up meeting is Ahsoka, and Ahsoka is such a badass. I loved her so much, like with the double lightsabers, and I was like, this is epic. Like to me, I always knew Ahsoka because, like I've seen some of the Clone Wars, and she's that apprentice of Anakin Skywalker, which I was like, okay, cool. Like, and I always wonder, like, well, they never brought her up in the originals, obviously, or in the sequels or anything like that. She was only for the animated stuff, which animated stuff is canon. So, and the fact that we got to see her live action and done so fucking well, and then she's even I'm pretty sure they confirmed that she's getting her own TV spinoff for Disney Plus, and that should be interesting to see. I can't wait to see that. Um, but the main villain of this whole season is um Moth Gideon. He's a guy from Breaking Bad and also from The Boys now. Um he's done very well. I like his suit. Kind of reminds me a little bit like Dark. Like his suit's kind of like a little bit like Darth Vader wise, even as a cape. And I was like, that's pretty cool. And he has a dark lightsaber, which I think that's dope. And so his plan is just to get Baby Yoda and I guess just study his blood and study his like genes inside. I guess to do something with that. I think I'm not quite sure exactly. I think they briefly touched in the last episode on why he needed him. So I think they will go more into it the next season. Um so so in the last episode I was really hyped for it. And so it shows, Mandalorian with Mando and his with Boba Fett and some of the other Mandalorians. They go in and they try and get Baby Yoda back, and then Mando even fights not Darth, Moth Gideon, and he ends up winning the dark lightsaber. And then he's trying to give it back to that one lady, but she was like, "I can't accept it because I need to beat you in combat for it." And they're kind of applying like you had to die, like you had to kill the other person to wield that dark lightsaber. But it's like Mando didn't kill Gideon. He's still alive. You don't have to kill him. You just had to beat him. And I'm just like, huh. I don't know. To me, I'm like, I can't wait to see that more explored and seeing like Mando wielding the lights, that dark saber in the next season. I think that would be pretty cool. But when all hope was lost, and then because they even had to fight these black stormtroopers, and there's just these droids, and they're really unstoppable. It even shows one where it's Mando going against one, and he was getting outclassed, outmatched so much. He had to outthink him just to with his witch just to beat this one robot. So there was a shit ton, and they're like, yeah, they're just done for. Until they saw X-wing flying in there, and they're like, "Who's in there?" And I was like, just one X-wing, because I was thinking it's like, oh, maybe it's like the rebels or something to come help. But it was just one X-wing, which I'm like, okay, that ain't gonna do shit. And then I was like, I wasn't really thinking much to it until it was like flashing back to Baby Yoda just like chilling there. Oh, and by the way, his name is Groku. They did discover that in this one episode. Like they found when he met up with Ahsoka, like his name is Groku, and I'm like, oh, okay, that's cool. Like he actually has his own name. Kind of reminds me of like I kind of always want to say Goku, but it's Groku, and that's pretty cool. And I really liked how like he's been around since before like episode 3, and they said like since like the whole like he witnessed like all these Jedi's getting slaughtered and killed by Order 66 by Emperor Palpatine. So ever since then he's been afraid and just like not showing off his powers because he saw that like people like his kind getting slaughtered for being Jedi. So I really like that. Like that's why he's such afraid. Like when Ahsoka's like, I sense fear in you, and I'm like, that makes sense because he's like just so scared. Like he's seen like his own kind getting slaughtered just for being a Jedi, and so and that makes sense. But like I was saying, you and I was like when they were showing like who was coming up, and I was like, no, no, no way. And it showed some guy coming in, and he has the robe and the dark. I was like, no, it can't be. No way. Like no way. And then it showed him wielding the lightsaber and the camera, so it's all black and white. So I'm like, maybe, maybe. And then when it shows back to them, and he is the green lightsaber, the black glove hiding the robot hand. I was like, Luke, motherfucking Skywalker is here, and and that just I loved it so much. I loved it so much because I really liked Luke Skywalker in the original trilogy. I really did. He's not my favorite. He's my second favorite character next to Han Solo. But I really liked him. To me, it sucked because we didn't get like we didn't get to see Luke Skywalker go beast mode. You kind of seen a little bit in Return of the Jedi, but we didn't get to see him go all out though. So and I was kind of hoping we were gonna get that scene like in The Force Awakens or The Last Jedi, but we didn't. And that was like one of the things that really disappointed me about the sequel trilogy because we could have got an OG Luke Skywalker just mowing down, showing that he's the best Jedi of all time. He's a Jedi Knight, and we didn't get that, and it kind of sucked that we didn't get that. Like it was a really great opportunity, and the fact that we got to see this now, which the whole Mandalorian season takes place like 5, 6 years after the original trilogy, and seeing him in his prime laying down these dark stroopers or whatever was awesome. I was just like flabbergasted on like what I was seeing. And then when he comes up and he takes off his robe, and I was thinking like was like, dude, you don't even have to show your face because just seeing that was just awesome. But he takes off his robe, and it shows that it was an actor, but like with CGI over his face to make it look like it's Mark Hamill. Which when I first saw it, I was like, oh, okay, that's pretty cool. Like I really did like it, but the more I watch it, I'm like, yeah, it is kind of a little distracting because it's like, yeah, that's a CGI face, which I get it because it's like, do you want to keep it where it's like, yeah, he's looking like the Luke Skywalker we all know to be from the original trilogy. But every time now I'm rewatching it, and when he's like talking, like his lips move kind of looks kind of weird because he can't like match the. I don't know. It's weird, and like Disney Star Wars have been doing this like with Rogue One, like with Tarkin and Leia, and I felt like they did pretty good in that one. A lot of people like talk so much shit about they look terrible and like really fucking fake. To me, they really didn't. To me, I'm like, oh, I see that. I'm like, that actually looks really good. Here, some instances it does look really good, and then there's some when he's like talking. I think that's when it's kind of just like when you're like focusing on his lips because it doesn't like I don't know. But other than that, it was still fucking awesome seeing and beast mode Luke Skywalker with the green lightsaber and all, and then you even got to see R2 showing up too, and I was like, oh. And then before Mando gives up Groku to Luke Skywalker, you know they were sad, and then he's reaching out to feel his face, and he ends up taking off his helmet, which the Mandalorian, their code is to never take off their helmet for any reason. And I liked it in this season too. He ends up taking off his helmet in this other episode. It was like part of the mission to go get Grogu back, and I really like that he will go through anything just to get him back. And it just shows like this bond they already established throughout these 2 seasons now. And when he's just feeling his face, like Groku's finally seen his face for the first time ever. I'm not gonna lie, it was making me tear up, and I've seen people's reactions on YouTube, like people also just tearing up to that scene, and it's just so good. Like I was like, why am I tearing up? It's so good to a puppet just seeing a dude's face, and I was like, oh, this. It just shows how this show is actually really good. I've yet to see anyone badmouth it or give it any negatives about it. To me, there's a really solid show for Star Wars fans and for people that never got into Star Wars, like newcomers. And that's what I really like. That's what the sequel trilogy kind of failed at. And I'm I just really liked it. And now I can't wait to see what next season is gonna bring us. Cause I'm wondering if, okay, so now Roku is going with Luke Skywalker, which is at the same time it's like you get to the sequel trilogy, like like his school temple does get fallen, and he ends up going to like this despair and all this other shit. So I wonder if they're gonna still keep the sequel trilogy, like 7 or 8, 9 canon or not. To be honest, if they don't, I'm not gonna be too mad about it. At first, I was like, no, they should, but I'm like, after seeing this, I'm like, I don't think they should keep 7, 8, and 9 canon anymore. That's my opinion. Um, but and then I also want to see Mando wielding that dark lightsaber and see where that's gonna go. And then we got an after credits scene where it shows Boba Fett going to Jabba the Hutt's palace, and you even saw some of like the older characters from the Return of the Jedi, and he just him and this girl kills them all, and he's taking over that place. And it just says the Book of Boba Fett coming December 2021, which I'm like, what? So is he getting? I didn't really get it. I was like, is he getting a spinoff, or is this gonna be something that we're gonna go through in the Mandalorian season 3? Which I hope he does get his own season and his own show, and I'm like, yes, I will love that. Like to me, it was a really great ending, really great to show what's there to come for this series. To me, I really love The Mandalorian. It's a really good show. Like I just said, it's a great show for the old Star Wars fans and the newcomers. It's really great. It did something that the sequel trilogy failed to do. And I will honestly give this season a 9 out of 10. You should go out and watch this. Like it's really great television. To me, I wasn't really getting into it as much because it was releasing week by week, and so I was always kind of just losing interest. I'm like, oh, what even happened? But when I actually sat down and binge watched the whole season, I was like, I loved it more than just me watching it week by week. So I guess that's why I just waited till all the episodes, because I did that with season 1 where I just waited week by week, and I was kind of just like, oh yeah, oh, a new episode, whatever. So with season 2, I just waited till like all the episodes were together, and then I just binge watched it, and I was just like, loved it. But yeah, this is a solid show. You guys should go on and watch this if you haven't already. And I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I hope you guys are having a great time at home and enjoying the holidays. So thank you. Make sure to like and subscribe, and I hope to see you guys next time.